Hey folks, it's Billy DKY, the truth seeker that simplifies and demystifies. This is going to be more about school. This is a question by somebody, basically sort of continuation of what we've been talking about on school through several of the videos. So it's going to be more of a continuation, a little more rant on it. Okay. What is school? Basically, the schools that we have now, a lot of times, are really more preparing you to make money than about preparing you for life. Because if you look at every race that's ever been on this earth, in some way they're teaching their kids something. I think about the Native Americans, what the Native Americans taught their kids, which they didn't teach them math and stuff. They taught them about nature, how to hunt, how to be warriors, and basically social skills with dealing with their people. And that system's all fine and dandy, but it didn't prepare them for the white man's arrival. And so, everybody has something to teach. Okay. Basically, what you should be learning, white man's way is not really the best, because, school's about really teaching you how to make money in the white man's world, or the modern world, or whatever you want to call it. And basically, that's not the highest level. The highest level is to gather essence. It's not about money. And when I say essence, it's this energy that everything's made of. It's hard to define how you're gathering it, but you know it when you have it, And sometimes when I don't know that I've gathered it, I'm feeling depressed about things ain't turning out the way I want to. I'll typically go into public somewhere, and I'll start walking around people, and I'll realize how tiny they are, how little their essence is, and I'm like, and I realized how much I've gained, and I was like, yeah, it's good. So, and that's what that whole 9 principles is about. It's about gaining essence, and money's just a flow of essence, or and people get foolish when they cling to one thing. So, your ultimate goal is to gather essence. So, if you're stuck in school, you're having to learn a system basically about how to gather as much money as you can. Well, you can circumvent that to some extent by not taking it as serious as they push it out to be. Because anytime you ask your teacher, well, where am I going to use this? They really typically don't have an answer, because they don't know. They've never worked in the real world. They don't know, most of them. And if they do, they usually give you a trivial answer. They find some extreme example. But so basically, if I had to do it over again, I wouldn't take school that serious. I would still learn the lessons that they have. However, I would spend more of my time learning how to gather essence, learning those principles I put out there, those 9 principles. I'd also go out and learn nature for yourself. Learn about nature. Learn the things that they're not teaching you in school. Oh yeah, I have one thing. And you need to look for books. You need to supplement your school learning, because it's not enough. It's like eating white man's diet. You have to supplement it with vitamins and stuff. So basically, I would go look for books that are profound. Like this one has been around for a long time, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Or I don't know if it's actually by him, but I think he funded it. So, I mean, this thing's been around for 70 years. It's a good book. I just finally ran into it. So, try to find books that are around, that everybody's read, that, it's really important. And again, the most important skill to learn is to learn how to gather essence. The second most important thing to learn is to learn, well, maybe not second, but it's close. It's people skills, social skills, learn how to get along with people. I guess actually the second thing would be learn how to survive, which all of it fits under gathering essence. So gathering essence is your ultimate goal, and how you go about doing that, part it's making money, part social skills, part this and that. So learning just the basic survival skills is good too, because oh, here's what I was going to say. If you were going to pick apples off a tree, where would you pick the apples off of? Would you pick the apples off the top of the tree, or would you pick it down at eye level? Well, of course you pick it down at eye level. You want to pick the easiest ones first. So when you're learning things and you're looking for things to learn, look to learn the things that you're doing the most in life. You know what I'm saying? Learn how to do the things you do repetitively. Learn how to do those things well, because those are the things you're going to do the most often. You know what I'm saying? So, like I say, learn how to walk better. And that may sound silly, but pay more attention to your walk, because you're going to do it your whole life. You know what I'm saying? Learn the little things. The little things in life, they add up over time to be huge things. So, okay. preparing you for the real world. School, it should be, if I was to design a school, I would design it completely different than what the white man has done. And when I say white man, I'm not African American, but I have some Native American. That's sort of the slant I come at it at. It would be a lot more free-spirited. There would definitely have to be structure. You would learn a little bit about everything. You would spend time out in nature. You would spend time in the school, learning school books, learning how to add, subtract, multiply, but you'd also learn what the trees were. You'd go out. Because I look back on my school career, I spent almost all my time in a boring classroom working as an individual instead of getting out, learning nature for myself, talking and communicating and philosophizing with other people and learning how to debate people. And I'm not saying about a debate team, but learning how to talk with other people and learn and come into consensus on what something is. It's like it would be designed totally different. I would try to find, what I would try to do is expose people, young kids, to what they enjoy, and then try to push them in that area. It's more about exposure so people can figure out what they truly love. Like, where I was at, if somebody was really smart, they probably could have told me that I was going to be a truth seeker, but nobody led me down that direction. So anyway, let's see. And again, like he brings up in his comment or message to me that not everybody's going to be doctors, and like I said before, not everybody's going to be PhD. So you need to help people be what they're going to be, and teach them the skills that they're going to need. Obviously schools shouldn't be given all the responsibility. Obviously your parents should be teaching you certain things too, and it's preparing you for the life that you're going to be living. That's the whole purpose, and it's not meant to be a stiff. And I think school is stiff and boring because what I call the whitey white, and obviously I have white man in me too. Probably more white man than anything, but I think school is stiff and boring because the whitey whites are very stiff, boring people. They don't really. They don't know how to live fully. It's like they're caught up in some boring-ass way of living and they don't know how to live fully. It's like they got big consciousness, but they got little tiny spirits, so it's just like, I don't know, it's screwed up in a lot of ways. And another point, the reason why school's not that good is because people aren't that smart. The people teaching you ain't that smart. Not to say they don't have degrees and stuff, but here's the way I look at it. First, you need to understand what life's about before you can go around teaching people stuff. And so people don't even know what life's about, and then they want to go around teaching people stuff. All they're really teaching you a lot of time is what they've been taught. That's all. They haven't really went out and seen it for themselves. They're not gathering it straight from reality. They're not thinking for themselves. You're getting just a repeated something they've learned, and they're just putting maybe a tad spin on it, and they may not even know it as good as the other person. It's like, it's like somebody telling you a story, and then it just keeps getting passed on. It keeps losing something every time it's told. Those little nuances are being lost and changed, and so I don't know. It's just, you need to learn it fresh for yourself. You need to think for yourself. And again, the best kind of learning is to learn how to learn for yourself and learn how to conquer your mind and grow your essence. And yeah, I guess that's really enough. But yeah, school is boring. It really is. I wouldn't take it too serious, but I would learn what I need to learn, and not only learn what they're teaching, but learn how they're screwing up. And I ain't saying argue with them about it, but just try to see how they're doing things, see what they're doing right, and learn from that, and see what they're doing wrong, and learn from that. And don't become bitter. Don't let them get you too caught up in their way of thinking. Go to other people. Maybe even go to an Indian reserve or something. I've never been, or learn from some different people, talk to different people, different ways of thinking, and just see what fits you right, and then wear them, put them on for a little bit and see how it feels to think like that, and then take that with you. And yeah, school's not meant to be that boring. It really isn't. But it is what it is. We have to deal with what we're given, and that's part of growing your essence, is learn how to deal with what you've been given, and not to let it taint you too much. And things will change in time. It'll take time, and like I say, after my philosophy start really getting out there, it's going to make people think. There's going to be a renaissance of thought coming up. You know what I'm saying? Because we've allowed the spirit to go unnoticed for too long. Anyway, later, folks.